putting the lights out in 12 states. Could have happened to anybody.
Poor Aunt Clara. All she wanted to do was sing Tabitha a lullaby, and she ended up putting out all the lights along the eastern seaboard. Or did she? Hi, I'm Mark Simpson.
And I'm David Pierce.
And I'm Adam Michael James. Welcome to Twitch Talk.
Tonight we'll be discussing episode number 83, The Short Happy Circuit of Aunt Clara. And we'll start off with the official Screen Gems episode description. The teleplay was written by Ed Jurist from a story by Lee Irwin. It was directed by William Asher and produced by William Frug. Additions to the cast were Art Julian as Mr. McElroy, Leo DeLion as Jenkins, and Reginald Owen as Aki. The Stevens are invited to the Tate home to meet a client, Mr. McElroy, who manufactures shoes. Darren agrees to let Aunt Clara babysit when Samantha tells him that Aunt Clara is sad because she's lost her boyfriend Aki, a warlock, to a younger witch. Trying to get Tabitha to sleep, Aunt Clara decides to bring the piano upstairs. She reduces it to toy size, but it grows as she carries it, and she gets stuck on the stairs. Aunt Clara tries another spell, and all the lights go out. Upset when Abner Kravitz reports that the whole eastern seaboard is blacked out, Aunt Clara summons Aki for help. He brings the Stevens lights back on by raising his hands, and Aunt Clara tells him to keep his hands up. Learning the lights are on at the Stevens, Larry insists they all go over there. Aunt Clara sees them coming and hides Aki in the closet. A crew from the power company arrive to check, and Gladys sneaks into the house and ducks into Aki's closet. She screams, and the lights go out as Aki drops his hands. Aunt Clara realizes she must get rid of him. When Darren opens the closet, a pair of shoes walks out. Gladys faints, but McElroy is delighted with the walking shoes, sure it's a gimmick Darren has created for the advertising campaign. Darren and Samantha decide not to disillusion Aunt Clara. They let her go on thinking she was responsible for the big blackout. Now let's go to David for a little bit of historical information on this episode.
Thank you, Mark. Filming for The Short Happy Circuit of Aunt Clara completed on July 25th, 1966. The episode then aired on November 10th, 1966. And it was inspired by real-life events, which we'll be discussing later. Take it away, Mike.
Thank you, David. As you all know, continuity is my bag. So let's get into some matters of continuity. The first one being Darren asking to get Tabitha a mortal babysitter. Samantha explicitly told Darren in Accidental Twins that until Tabitha could get control of her powers, mortal babysitters were out, so I'm not sure exactly where Darren got that one from. Also, when Samantha calls in to check on Tabitha, Aunt Clara very freely says that the power is on at the house, which is interesting because you would think if she was trying to cover up her goof, that was the last thing she would do. You would think that she would wait until she figured out what she did and how to fix it before telling Samantha the power's on. She should have just said the power was out. But of course, this was a ploy to get everybody over to the house for the other shenanigans, so there's that. But the interesting thing here is that once they do get to the house, Samantha is unusually hostile with Aunt Clara, which is really... it's just strange because, I mean, this is a woman that in Samantha Meets the Folks and There's No Witch Like an Old Witch, Samantha was ready to cut people in order to protect Aunt Clara. So for her to suddenly be all suspicious and wonder what Aunt Clara had done when she has no proof yet that Aunt Clara is responsible for the blackout, it's just a little out of character, I think. And on the flip side of that, Darren's compassion for Aunt Clara is really something special in this episode. I mean, there's episodes where he tolerates her, there's other episodes where he's annoyed by her, but here, as soon as he finds out that Aki broke up with her, he's all, poor old girl, as if she didn't have enough trouble, and it's really, really sweet. So, we kind of like that. Interesting that Darren and Sam did a little flip-flop there. Mark, take it away.
Well, okay, Mike. Seems like you've got quite a few thoughts on this episode. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back, we'll introduce the panel, and we'll get on with it. We'll be right back.
Twitch Talk will be back in a moment.
On with the binge watching. Load up the next disc.
Can't. That was the last one.
You mean Bewitched ended on a regular episode?
That's right. Series finales weren't a thing when Bewitched was on the air.
Adam Michael James?
We love your ultimate linear guide to the show.
Hey, didn't you come up with a series finale in that book?
Sure did, baby. Only now, I've novelized it. I, Samantha, Take This Mortal Darren not only brings our supernatural sitcom full circle, it brings back beloved characters and creates backstories for Samantha and Darren.
Wow, 5 stars on Amazon.
All the reviews say it reads just like an episode of Bewitched.
Well, thank you. I'm just doing my thing. But I'm most proud to say that I, Sam, builds on the show's messages of equality and acceptance.
Sounds groovy, AMJ.
Thanks for these.
Hey, McMahon and Tate never did freebies. But you can pop over to Amazon or order them from Barnes & Noble. I'll boost ya. Oops. Should have also told them the ebook is on Kindle and iTunes. Well...
I, Samantha, Take This Mortal Darren, the series finale Bewitched never had, in print and ebook.
And now, back to Twitch Talk.
All right, welcome back to Twitch Talk, everybody, and the panel has joined us. So first we'll start off with some introductions. What we'll do is we just tell us your name, where you're from, and what you do for a living. So I'll start. My name is Mark. I'm in Tacoma, Washington, and I ordinarily run a ghost tour in Seattle, but we're closed down right now because of the pandemic. So I'm unemployed. So let's move on to David.
I'm David Pierce from Salt Lake City, Utah. I'm the author of the Bewitched history book, and I'm an informal life case manager for life insurance.
And Mike.
I am Adam Michael James, Mike to the mortal world. I am the author of the Bewitched Continuum, and I, Samantha, Take This Mortal Darren. I live in Prince Edward Island, Canada, and currently my career is I write Bewitched books.
How about Anna?
My name is Anna Bergman. I live in Vallejo, California, and I'm a historian.
All right. June?
Hi, my name is June Nixon. I am from Seattle, Washington. In the daytime, I'm an admin assistant, and at nighttime, I am vice president of the Advanced Ghost Hunters of Seattle, Tacoma.
Susan?
I'm Susan Hauser. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, and I am retired.
Steve?
Hey, Galaxy Groovers. My name is Steve Salyer. I'm from Columbus, Ohio. During the day, I work for a unnamed bank, and at night, I'm Batman.
We won't. Justin?
I'm Justin. I'm from Atlanta, and I am a software developer.
And Max?
Hi, I'm Max. I'm from the West Midlands in the United Kingdom, and I'm a teacher of drama and English, and I'm going into my 21st year of teaching.
All right, and finally, Stephen.
I am Stephen Schofield. I'm from Merrimack, New Hampshire. I'm retired and I've just taken up tax preparation.
Sounds fascinating. All right, so before we start, I want to see that everybody has their martini. Okay, I have two people who don't have a martini, so that's two demerits right there. Hepzibah will not be pleased.
You get one demerit.
But this time we're going to be talking about season 3 episode, The Short Happy Circuit of Aunt Clara. So I'm going to ask David to give us a brief synopsis of this episode.
Aunt Clara is asked to babysit while Samantha and Darren go to a dinner party with the client. And in the course of trying to soothe baby Tabitha with the piano, Aunt Clara manages to turn off the lights on the entire eastern seaboard. And she's got to try to get help from her old beau, Aki, and things go awry from there.
So now I think we'll go through the panel and we will just give your thoughts and your comments on the episode. Any bloopers that you noticed, or just whatever comes to your mind about this episode. So I guess we'll start with David.
I love this episode. I think everybody looks so classy in it. And what I love even better about it is that it's was based on an actual event that happened a year prior, where the entire eastern seaboard was blacked out. So I like that a witchy explanation for a mortal problem happened, and even more so that Samantha explains at the end that mortals are always coming up with explanations for stuff witches do. But of course, I love Aunt Clara. I think she is hysterical, and I like that. Who would have thought that trying to get a piano up the stairs would have caused all the power to go off on the entire eastern seaboard?
Old piano, black as night. How I wish that you were light.
All right, thanks, David. And so now, Mike, what are your thoughts on the episode?
Well, I agree with David in that Aunt Clara, the writing for Aunt Clara is phenomenal in this episode. She's snappy, she's sassy, which we usually don't see, and she's so much goofier than usual. It's heartwarming, it really is. And I'm a cynic, so for me to say that is a big thing. A few things about Aki. My favorite part of the whole episode is his second attempt to turn the lights back on, and he discovers that he can only do it by raising his hands, and then he goes, "Are they gone?"
Well, do it again. Do it again. Now put a little more zing into it.
Okay.
Your hands. It's your hands, Aki.
Are they gone?
Oh, no, but you must keep them up to keep the lights on.
Swell.
That's my favorite part of that. But I have a couple questions about him. One is he says he blew an entire year of witchcraft on that little witch. And I'm wondering how that can be possible. It's like, is witchcraft rationed? Do you only get a certain amount per year? How does that work? And the other thing I wondered is what happens when he steps outside as he's invisible and you see the shoes going, but the lights stay on. So he must still have his hands up, and I hope that he is outside, like leaning against the house or something to keep his arms from falling off, because that's got to be painful. And the only other thing that I want to mention, and I wonder if y'all have noticed this, we know Larry Tate as the champion brown noser of all time. This is the first time he actually does it. He never did it in all 2 seasons before this. This is the first time we see him do it. And, you know, of course, he's going to turn it into an Olympic event. But I always wonder, do you guys remember in Eat It Mario's when he said he was afraid of losing accounts because it made him feel rejected? I always felt like that was like his rationale for being a Larry Tate. We can't use the other words on network television. But yeah, this is the first time he did it.
Yeah, I never noticed that. Very, very interesting observation.
Well, he has always wanted to rule the world. He said that a couple of times. So Larry has some pretty high aspirations.
That's true. Okay, so I think next we're going to go to the new kid on the block, and that's Stephen Schofield.
Hi. So I loved this episode. I love season 3. I think it's a sweet spot for the show. I think Elizabeth Montgomery looks beautiful. And Clara is sweet. The writing is sweet. And I just really loved watching this episode for all of those reasons. And to me, it just hits a really, really great spot for the for all the seasons of the show, and my favorite season.
Cool. Okay, how about you, June? What are your thoughts?
Well, I have to say that this episode just made me giggle almost all the way through it. It was so cute, and I do love the part where she's starting to sing the lullaby to Tabitha, and you know, Tabitha starts crying, so she thinks, you know, of course, if she brings the piano up, you know, this will make it even better.
Still awake, precious? Aunt Clara will sing you a little lullaby. Me, 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 me. Lullaby, 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 and good night.
So that's what really made me laugh. But and I love, you know, I love that she still had, you know, even though her boyfriend cheated on her, she decided, you know, she was going to take him back too. So that was really sweet. But yeah, this whole episode was just so cute. I loved it. But did you notice there was a couple times when it looked like she kind of broke the fourth wall when she kind of looked over at the camera a couple times, like she was trying to, I don't know, it's like almost say, is that all right? Should I have done that? I mean, it just seemed like she did that a couple of times, and I noticed, but I just loved it. Great episode.
All right. How about Anna?
Aunt Clara is so lovable that even Darren likes her, which is amazing. Aunt Clara and Uncle Arthur are the only one of Samantha's relatives that call him Darren, but we know about Uncle Arthur. I wanted to just follow up on what Adam said with one of my all-time favorite Larry Tate lines, which is this the face of a sensitive man? I think he's always been a brown noser. And I love that Aunt Clara is really a femme fatale. This is one of at least 3 episodes where she's dealing with a romantic entanglement. And it's one of the things I just find really charming and indicative of the era when they didn't think that we would be able to watch these all together.
Okay, let's move on to Steve.
First of all, I think I was going to talk about this client too. What was his name again? Art Julian?
Well, that's his real name.
Yeah, he was just one of those. You know, I think what I liked about Bewitched was that when they found an actor or an actress that they liked, they had no problem using him over and over and over again. You know, they had this certain little troupe of players that they, you know, but this was the client, you know, with the cigar that, you know, that he didn't like the story, he didn't like the idea, so the cigar went down, you know.
Now here's a slogan you're going to like a lot more than the others, Mr. McElroy. There's no business like shoe business. So much for slogans.
Very, very good. He was just one of those clients that you loved to hate because he was never going to be happy about anything anyway. You know, he was just the perfect guy for this episode. I also love, this is a perfect example of how I just really like the witches and warlocks names. I would love to get people to start calling me Aki, because I just think it's a really cool name. You know, how many people, just think of all the warlocks of this show that have these really cool, neat names. I love Aunt Clara as always, and as you said, June, when she started singing that song, you just are going, oh, for the love of God, stop. And then when Tabitha started crying, it was amazing. Great episode. Love Aunt Clara. I love when they have dinner parties and they have the clients in the house and it's evening time. And it just kind of reminds me of when I used to watch the show as a kid in the evenings with my family, you know? So I'm done now. Anyway, loved it.
Okay. Susan.
It's a sweet episode. And the two things that I really enjoy the most are the back and forth between Aunt Clara and Aki. And, you know, it's kind of a little racy, which I enjoy seeing her do that and be that coy.
Clara, my darling.
Oh, no, nothing like that. No, I called you back professionally. And then after that, you can go back to your little witch.
Clara, I don't want her. I never want to see her again.
Oh, dear. And then she's so pretty and so young. And
You're just as pretty as she is.
Oh, no, Aki, no.
Will you please take me back?
Or maybe I will, or maybe I won't.
And the other thing is that dress that Samantha's wearing at the dinner party. I just adore that. It's just so beautiful. You know, I always like it when they make references to things. There's some song references, Buttons and Bows from Bob Hope and Shoo Shoo Baby from the Andrews Sisters. You should look these things up and listen to them because they're great.
Darren, tell him about the spectacular you dreamt up. It's a beaut. What I had in mind was a great big shoe. Yes, we based the whole thing on the old woman who lived in a shoe. And we have some marvelous songs. Shoo Shoo Baby, Body and Soul, Buttons and Bows. Her lady shoes.
Got any brandy?
And also, I think there's a blooper in here, actually. The spell that Aunt Clara casts says, "Oh, piano, black as night. How I wish you were light." Well, the piano's not black. Has anybody ever noticed that?
Oh, piano, black as night. How I wish that you were light.
That's it.
Can I just say something? Speaking of the piano, I love how the piano is just there when it's needed for the story. You know, the piano just miraculously appears like it's always been there, but we never see it unless, you know, like if you see the piano, you go, oh, someone's going to talk about the piano in this episode, because it's just kind of there when they need it and it's not there when they don't need it.
Yeah, well, we talked about that corner the last time. It's like there's a lot of stuff in that corner of the room that, you know, is there when it's convenient to the story. Different paintings, the piano, a bar, you know, a stereo, whatever, you know, when it's convenient to the story. Let's move on to Justin.
Most episodes of Bewitched I love, absolutely love. There are 2 episodes of Bewitched I actively dislike. This is one of the handful of episodes where I'm like, oh, it's okay. I mean, I like it. I don't love it. I don't hate it. 2 things about this episode I thought were comedy gold. Her getting the piano up the stairs and it growing and growing and growing, and it gets to be full size when it's halfway up the stairs. And then Mrs. Kravitz walking in. That is hilarious.
I wish this were nearer the nursery. It worked. Well, you've still got it, old girl. Oh, well. Oh, dear. Oh, what's happening? Oh, stop that. Now, there's no way for a piano to behave. Oh, I must do something fast. Oh, a piano, that I prize. Return to that convenient size.
Anybody up?
Oh, Mrs. Crabbit. Oh, so nice of you to drop in.
How'd that piano get up there?
What piano? Well, we got out of that one. Now let's get out of this one.
And toward the end of the episode, when the shoes were just walking along by themselves, and Larry and the client were looking like, what's going on here?
Now that's what I call a clever idea. Animated shoes. It's only great.
Okay, I'll let you, Max.
I love this episode. I think any episode with Aunt Clara in it is fantastic anyway. I just wanted Uncle Arthur and Endora to join them, but obviously that wasn't going to happen. Again, a lot of it's been mentioned, what I was going to say, but I too think it was incredibly rude of Mrs. Kravitz to just walk in, and I thought maybe that was something you Americans do, I don't know, in your neighborhoods. We don't do that here. We certainly knock or ring the bell. I love this episode because it just shows how Darren has such a soft spot for Aunt Clara, and how you can see that if any of the others had done what she did, he would be livid about it. But with her, it's like, oh, it's fine, it's not a problem. And from the moment Aunt Clara comes down the chimney and lands on the fireplace, it's like it's such a natural thing to do.
Dear.
Aunt Clara, we've got a front door, you know.
Yeah, 'cause I must have left my flaps down too soon.
So one of my moments I do like, which I think really makes me laugh, it might not make you laugh, but it does make me laugh, is when Gladys Kravitz faints near the end of the episode, and Abner knocks the door and just walks in, and he says something and says, oh, what's she doing there or something, and then he just picks her up as if like he's Tarzan taking Jane out, and it's just, I just think that's funny.
What happened?
She fainted.
Good. Now I can get some sleep. Love the fainting lady. How do you work her into the animated shoes?
Yeah, I just love it. I think it's brilliant. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, well, you know what? I love this episode. I think it's awesome. I love Marion Lorne. I mean, Aunt Clara is just, how can you not love Aunt Clara? The shoes, I think those shoes walking out that door, that's just phenomenal. I mean, it's obviously done with wires, but they actually look like somebody is walking. I mean, just the way that they did it. I mean, the way the shoes, kind of move up and down. I mean, it actually looks like there's somebody walking out the door. The dance, the wee kick of the Kirk. I mean, she does the dance I learned in Scotland. It's so hilarious. So hilarious.
That's just a little dance I learned in Scotland. It's called the wee kick of the Kirk.
Bet she knows where the brandy is.
So, before we move on, I see that Aunt Clara has actually joined us. So, Clara, do you have any comments about this episode?
Yes, of course. On the other hand, I...
Thank you, Clara. I guess then we will take a break, and we'll be right back.
Did you know that tonight's featured episode, The Short Happy Circuit of Aunt Clara, was based on a real-life event? At 5:27 p.m. Eastern Time on November 9th, 1965, a major power disruption in the power supply in the Northeast left over 30 million people without power. Affecting several states along the eastern seaboard, the blackout lasted as little as 5 minutes in some areas, while other areas like New York City, the power was out for about 13 hours. The major cause of the blackout was human error. A few days before the incident, a protective relay on a transmission line was incorrectly set too low near Sir Adam Beck Station Number 2, the Niagara Generation Station in Queenston, Ontario. A surge in power due to the cold weather originating from Lewiston, New York at the Robert Moses Generating Plant tripped the relay that was set too low. This deactivated a major power line that was headed for northern Ontario. The rest of the power flowing to the trip line was diverted, causing other lines to overload. Each of their relays tripped. With nowhere else to go, the power headed east into New York State and overloaded those lines as well. The 1968 film Where Were You When the Lights Went Out, starring Doris Day, was set during the infamous blackout, garnering close to $8 million at the box office. That translates to $60.6 million in today's money. Was it human error, or was it just another one of Aunt Clara's goofs? You decide.
Twitch Talk will be back in a moment.
Y'all bored at home? You got nothing to do? The Bewitched history book will come to your rescue. With over 700 pages of info and fun, you won't want to put it down until the day is done. Huh? If you're a true Bewitched fan, then all we can say is get online and order yours today.
And now, back to Twitch Talk.
All right, well, welcome back to Twitch Talk. And now it's time for our panel to give their reviews of the episode and how they rate it from 1 to 4 stars, 1 being the worst, 4 being the best. So let's begin with David.
I definitely give this one 4 stars. It's always been one of my favorites, and now that I've been thinking about it, it's one of the first ones that I ever recorded on VHS and watched over and over and over. I think everything about it is brilliant, and I like that you mentioned the shoes. I even tried when I watched it just recently to see if I could see the wires, and I don't think I can. I think it was absolutely brilliant, and Aunt Clara is always, always a favorite. And I always loved how Elizabeth looked in this episode. She was absolutely at the peak of her beauteousness. Always beautiful, but I think this was the peak.
All right, how about you, Mike?
I don't want to be in dispute with Stephen, but for me, season 3, it's not my favorite. I mean, I love it, but it's so hit and miss to me. It was like they were just starting to get into their groove. And as Justin was saying about not having, favorite episodes of the show, season 3 actually contains my 2 least favorite episodes. However, this episode is not among those least favorites. The thing about it is Aunt Clara is just so wonderful and so goofy and just a step above the way that she usually is. She just takes over the whole show in the most wonderful way. And so for that, I will give this episode 3 light bulbs.
Okay. How about you, June?
Well, of course, I think I'm going to have to give it 4 stars because, like I said, it made me laugh, and I love the story for it. It was just a really cute story, and I loved the ending, and it was very cute.
All right. Anna?
I love anything with Aunt Clara, but I don't like the pacing of this episode. I feel like there's too much going on and there's too many starts and stops. There's the piano and Mrs. Kravitz, and then the lights going on and off, which is the point, but it's just disjointed. It doesn't flow for me like some of the episodes do. So I give it a 3.
Okay. Susan.
Well, I have to say, when we first talked about doing this episode this week, I kind of thought, there's some really cute things about it, and Aunt Clara really is great. But you see Aunt Clara do this so much, it's hard for me to appreciate what it might have been like earlier on in her journey as Aunt Clara. That it just feels like I've seen this shtick before so many times. It doesn't feel fresh to me, but that's my fault, I guess. So I have to say 3. It just doesn't grab me. There's some really nice elements, but there's nothing. It just doesn't really speak to my heart. 3.
Okay. Steve?
Well, I have to give it 4 Oh My Stars, and I'll tell you why. Because I've just never met a Bewitched episode that I didn't like. I mean, I love that world. I love visiting with those people. The cast is so endearing with me. Sure, there are some that I like more than others, but this is one of the only series that I love that really doesn't have any real kind of boner episodes in my mind. They all can be appreciated for different reasons. I love Aunt Clara, love Aki, love the whole thing. I have to give it 4 Oh My Stars.
Justin.
I am kind of ambivalent about this episode. I did not love it. I didn't hate it. It was just okay. If there are a list of Bewitched episodes to pick from, I would not choose to watch this. So I just say it's average, so I'm going to give it 2 stars.
Okay. Max.
No, I have to disagree. I think it's a brilliant episode. Any episode with Aunt Clara is just fantastic. She's my favourite. And if ever I say to somebody who hasn't watched Bewitched, always watch one with Aunt Clara in it. This has got everything in it. It's got the magic. It's got it's got the comedy. Obviously, it's just great. I love it. There's some special effects in there. I definitely give it 4 stars. Yep, definitely.
Okay, and finally, Stephen.
So I'm going to give it 4 as well. But as we're talking about this, I think it's interesting that as powerful a figure that Endora is, that there's so many of us that see this as a 4 and it doesn't have that character in there. I think that's kind of interesting. I just think that this season and this episode are examples that really just capture the essence of Bewitched. Just the sweetness of it, like I said before, and how the characters, where the characters are in relation to one another, how they're written in this season is just the most representative of the Bewitched that I really love. So 4.
Okay. So I have to say that I love the episode. I think because I think Aunt Clara is just hilarious, and Aki. The animation of the shoes, I think it's just absolutely incredible for 1966. Now they would put somebody in a green suit, and they would just they would green screen it and have them walk out the door. But they actually had to do this, and I just think it's so good. like I said before, it looks like somebody is actually walking in those shoes, and I think it's just incredible. I love the episode, and I give it 4 stars. So I've averaged it out, and it actually averages out to 3.5 stars. So we can go either way. So I'm giving it 4 stars. Cheers, everybody.
Gentlemen, people love classic TV. And what's more classic than Bewitched? But in the 60s, audiences didn't demand the same level of continuity that we expect today. So how to make sense of 8 seasons of Bewitched? The Bewitched Continuum, the only book to compare and contrast all 254 episodes, along with witch illnesses, top 10s, and more. It's the ultimate linear guide. And the slogan? The Bewitched Continuum. Come feel the magic.
Now available on Amazon.com.
Join us next time for our next episode of Twitch Talk, where we're going to be discussing the Corsican Cousins. All right, so welcome back, and I want to thank my co-hosts, David Pierce and Adam Michael James, and I want to thank our panel for being here with us again this time. Anna, June, Susan, Steve, Justin, Max, and Steven. And here's a toast. Cheers.
Cheers.
And best twitches. See you next time.